Avowed and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 have me glued to my Xbox. If I'm not scouring the living lands for loot, navigating the murky waters of court politics, or saving the world from impending doom in Avowed, then I'm living it up like a chivalrous knight in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. You know, getting plastered at taverns, hanging around bathhouses, and killing bandits in their sleep so they can't fight back and I can take all of their sweet loot for myself. I'm pretty sure I'm the walking embodiment of chivalry now that I think about it. As much fun as I'm having with these games, my obsession with Avowed and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has got me thinking, what makes a game so addictive? Sure, there are the obvious things. Loot boxes, high scores, squads, and multiplayer games. But as addictive as those are all reported to be, I can't say that those are the things that get me to sacrifice sleep in the name of a good game. In my mind, those things are what makes gaming as a hobby so addicting, but they don't speak to what makes one game more addictive than the next. As such, I don't think I'll be able to find the answer as to what makes certain games addictive, at least not an answer that satisfies me through literary analysis. The truth is that there is only one way to get to the bottom of this conundrum: by playing video games. I know, so incredibly valiant, but it's what I must do to find these answers and bring them to you, the viewer. The question I faced then was, what games to pick? In a world of so many amazing games, how am I to choose only 3 to get a good picture of what makes a game addictive? I could choose from the games that I've invested the most playtime in, but that would skew heavily in favor of simulation and sports games. I could go by the games in which I've reached the end credits the most number of times, but that would skew heavily in favor of only superhero games. And I also could go with my favorite games of all time, but then I'd just be analyzing Rockstar games for this entire video. After a lot of back and forth with myself and revising this script, I finally got a grasp on how to go about this. The most effective way to figure out what draws me to a game is to combine all 3 categories. With that in mind, it was time to go through each category and select 3 games to break down. Now, when it comes to playtime, there is really only one game franchise for me to focus on. Going off some rough estimates, I'd say that WWE games are my 3rd most played, with over 600 hours since SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. Then NBA 2K would be in 2nd place with over 800 hours since NBA 2K6. I know, objectively not the best game franchises to have lost months of my life to, but what can I say? I like professional wrestling and basketball. That being said, the amount of time I spent in NBA 2K and WWE games pales in comparison to my most played franchise ever. Clocking in at over 1,500 hours played, we have The Sims. The Sims is a lifelong obsession of mine, beginning with the very first Sims game on original Xbox. When I tell you I've played The Sims, I mean I have played all of The Sims. I played The Sims, Sims 2, Herb Sims in the City, The Sims Medieval, My Sims Kingdom, Sims City, The Sims 4, you name it, I've played it. Just don't name Sim Ant because that's the one game I haven't gotten around to yet. I have even bought almost every single expansion for The Sims 4. That's how down bad I am when it comes to The Sims. Honestly, the only reason I don't consider The Sims to be my favorite game of all time is simply overexposure. I've played it so many times that it feels too familiar, and in my mind, that disqualifies it from being considered my favorite game of all time. Talk about mental gymnastics. Thankfully, for the purposes of this video, all of The Sims are very similar mechanically, so I just had to pick whichever game sounded the most fun at the time. That ended up being The Sims 2 because EA just repackaged it with all of its DLC, and it's only $30, which is a killer deal. Psst, EA, if you're watching this, please do the same thing with The Sims 3. The Sims 2 has a lot going for it. It's charming music, which is copyrighted so I can't play it. It's well thought out towns and townies. It's attention to detail. The Sims 2 does it all. But what keeps me coming back? After playing for about 10 hours or so, I was able to nail down 3 things that The Sims does better than most other games: role-playing options, emergent gameplay, and storytelling. The best part about The Sims is just how interconnected these aspects are. To highlight the extent to which you can roleplay and how that results in great emergent gameplay and storytelling, take the story of my newest Sim, Donnie Taylor. I made Donnie a money and art-obsessed Pisces and enrolled him in university. While at university, Donnie excelled as a freshman and sophomore, only to fall in love as a junior and get so preoccupied with his relationship and partying that he eventually got kicked out of school. Of course, Donnie no longer being in school made him and his significant other grow distant, and eventually they broke up. Wallowing in his sorrow, Donnie refused to get a job and instead turned his focus to painting during the day and partying at night. One night while he was out partying, he met his soulmate, a woman named Bim. That's really her name. EA named someone Bim. I don't know what they were doing there, don't blame me. Anyway, Bim was Donnie's soulmate, and this isn't just headcanon either. Donnie really had more chemistry with Bim than he did any other sim. This is depicted in-game through their relationship system. Naturally, Donnie and Bim hit it off, and it wasn't long before the two ended up married. Imagine Donnie's surprise when, after marrying Bim, he finds out that she's absolutely loaded. Now, Donnie is a married rich man with a dog and can focus all of his time on painting and becoming the master of his dreams. Take that, college. There aren't many other games out there with this level of freedom and reactivity, but I believe it's those two in concert that results in The Sims hooking me like no other game has before. The more I think about it, the more I think The Sims might actually be my favorite game of all time, but if I admit that now, then the entire structure of this video is fucked, and I'll have to redo this whole thing, so I'm just gonna reckon with The Sims' place in my favorite games of all time later. In summary, The Sims gets you addicted due to its ability to let you create deep characters, and The Sims' ability to craft meaningful, unpredictable, and interactive stories around these characters. These two ideas come together to create a level of player investment that most games can only dream of. The thing here is that The Sims is unmatched in vision. The Sims is an open-ended life simulator with no real way to quote-unquote beat the game. It's ambitious and unique. There aren't many, if any, popular games that set out to do the same thing that The Sims set out to do. That's why The Sims can't be my only reference for what makes an addicting game. Most games have much more contained game designs, meant to only last the player anywhere from 10 hours on the short side to 200 hours on the long side. With that in mind, I thought it was only fair to look at games that fit that description and analyze both the game I rolled credits on the highest number of times and the game that I considered my favorite game of all time. Batman Arkham Asylum changed the way that I look at games. Before that game came out, I loved me a good action-adventure game. Enter the Matrix, Hitman Blood Money, and Assassin's Creed were just a few of my favorite games of the Dark Age. Everything changed the day that Arkham Asylum demo dropped. You see, kids, what we saw in that demo was not only the single coolest depiction of Batman to this day, but we also saw the birth of God's gift, or curse, to games: free flow combat. Look, I hear you. I know this mechanic became overused, and I can already hear the groaning about how simple this combat system is, and how you only need to press one button to dodge. I don't care. I can't begin to explain how cool this was when it first came out. This was truly a you had to be there moment, but to those who were, how cool was that shit, huh? The way Batman flowed between enemies, the way he responded so fluidly through the varying animations, the brutal impact of his punches. It was and still is perfect. Sure, a lot of games have borrowed this mechanic. Shadow of Mordor copied it and added decapitation. Spider-Man copied it and added some flips. Sifu copied it and made it hard, but no game has ever done it better than the Arkham games. I can't lie, the free flow combat in the Arkham games is like 85% of why I'm addicted to these games. I haven't beaten any game as many times as I have Batman Arkham City. I've rolled credits on Arkham City a total of 5 times, and Arkham Knight is close behind at 3 with another playthrough currently ongoing. Asylum, I've only beaten once. Shocking after that whole preamble to this section, I know, but it's just proof that free flow combat alone won't get me through your game. Free flow combat is the cat's pajamas, and it will damn sure get me to try your game. Hell, it might even get me to the halfway point, but what else does a game need to have to get me over the finish line? In this case, it's pretty easy to see. I loved exploring Arkham and Gotham cities, and Arkham City and Arkham Knight respectively. I loved gliding through the night and dropping in on unsuspecting baddies. I even liked chasing down enemies in the tank that is a Batmobile in Arkham Knight. The densely packed environment tailored for the navigation system always kept me coming back for more. The third and final additive that makes me always return to the Arkham games is, well, I love Batman. It's really as simple as that. With those 3 ingredients, free flow combat, a dense and thoughtful open world, and a pre-existing intellectual property that I already had a deep interest in, Batman Arkham City and Arkham Knight had me at hello. This exploration into the addictive properties of various games ended up sparking a second and third question. What constitutes a favorite game? How should favorite games be ranked? But that's not why we're here. Regardless of how many times I've beaten it, Arkham City is neither my most played game of all time, which is The Sims, nor is it my favorite game of all time.
Well, what is your favorite game of all time, Dante?
Okay, keep your pants on, I'll tell you. My favorite game of all time is Red Dead Redemption 2. If you know me at all, then this isn't even kind of a surprise. I literally never shut up about it. For those curious, I believe I have around 300 hours in the game, but I've only beaten it once due to how sad the ending is. I have reached Chapter 3 around 10 times though, so there's that. But back to the question at hand. What makes Red Dead Redemption 2 so addictive? Well, for starters, just look at it. Seriously, look at it. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's probably the most beautiful game I have seen in my entire life, and this game is 7 years old. The characters are immaculately detailed, and their physics model is a thing to behold. That includes all of the animals, from the hair on Arthur Morgan's head, to the fur on a grizzly bear, to the feathers on a bald eagle. Not a single expense was spared. And the characters aren't even the star of the show visually. The real main event is the environment, including the skybox. Red Dead Redemption 2 is the closest you can get to going outside without having to actually touch grass. If this game ever gets a VR port, Rockstar is going to have a bunch of lawsuits on their hands because gamers are going to keep getting sunburnt because that's how beautiful and realistic these environments are. That beauty extends from the visuals into the actual story of Red Dead Redemption 2. The writers at Rockstar got in their bag for this game and pulled out all of the stops. The result is something that rivals the greatest Western literature. Poignant themes of loss, redemption, regret, family, and forgiveness echo throughout this game's roughly 50-hour story. And while I have only rolled credits once on this game, I still love progressing throughout the story and seeing how each character develops. Arthur's story is so tragically profound, and he ends up becoming my favorite character in all of gaming as a result. My second infatuation with Red Dead Redemption 2 is its amazing story centered around a strong central character. But what really brings Red Dead Redemption 2's special sauce together is its world building. Animals, people, objects, the environment, everything within the world of Red Dead Redemption 2 responds both to the player, to the weather, and even to time. You see buildings get built, you see corpses decay, you see Arthur Morgan's hair grow, you even see horse balls shrink. Everything flows together in such a natural way, it's almost as if Rockstar just stuck a USB into a tree and downloaded a copy of real nature to use in the game. It's seriously crazy stuff. So, for Red Dead Redemption 2, the secret ingredients are top-of-the-line graphics, literature-level writing, and a one-to-one copy of a real-life environment. That's not asking too much, is it? So, there you have it. By taking a look at The Sims, Arkham Knight, and Red Dead Redemption 2, we were able to get a good grasp on what qualities can make a game addictive. For The Sims, it's a good character creator mixed with varied role-playing opportunities and a reactive world. When it comes to the Arkham games, the additives are free-flow combat, a densely packed open world, and a pre-existing beloved intellectual property. Last but not least, Red Dead Redemption 2, we have stunning visuals, historic writing, and a near replication of real-world environments. I can't help but wonder just how much of my life I would lose to a game that was able to combine all of these aspects in a meaningful way. If this video does well enough, then I'll put this to the test. I'll follow this video up by looking at games that have come closest to incorporating all of these aspects, and see whether or not that game is able to dominate my life in the way that it should. As always, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate your support, and if you liked today's video, then don't forget to like and subscribe.